Speaker.
Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Chris Finlayson.
Mr. Speaker, I begin, as I should, by congratulating all those who deserve to be congratulated on the assumption by them of high offices in this Parliament. I first of all refer to the Right Honourable David Carter and wish him best for this Parliament. I had hoped that he would wear a black gown this Parliament rather than that strange fur thing that he has taken a liking to, but I guess style is the man. I congratulate my distant cousin, the Honourable Chester Borrows, on his appointment as the, I come to you shortly, as the Deputy Speaker. And of course, I congratulate the Assistant Speakers. It's the first time I've seen you in the chair, sir, and I think that you're going to be a wonderful chair. You very much look the part, and I think you're going to require the highest standards from all members of Parliament at all times. So, for example, I can't imagine for one moment that you'd tolerate members of Parliament hurling homophobic slurs across the chamber at other members of Parliament, and so I very much look forward to your time as Assistant Speaker. I also congratulate the Prime Minister, who moves into that category of Prime Minister like Dick Seddon and Peter Fraser, both of whom would be members of the National Party today. And I particularly want to pay tribute to that great Prime Minister, Peter Fraser, because at the weekend, we're all going to be celebrating in Wellington the arrival of the 700 Polish refugees to New Zealand.
Point of order. David Cunliffe, the Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr. Speaker, I seek your advice, and I'm sure you will correct me if this point is not within standing orders, but sir, I wonder whether it is possible for a member to take exception on the part of a former member, because in the case
order,
of certainly
order,
Mr. Seddon,
the member
Mr.
will be seated. Chris Finlayson.
Quite apart from losing an election, he's lost his sense of humour. But, Mr.
Order.
Speaker, the important thing, not you, sir, but let's get on with...
And referring to a point of order that's been dealt with.
Mea culpa, sir, and thank you for your guidance. I do appreciate it. But let us come to Peter Fraser and the Polish refugees, because that was a real act of statesmanship by that great Prime Minister, and as a consequence of which we have a wonderful, vibrant community, Polish community in New Zealand, and I'm sure Mrs. King is going to be with me on Sunday when we recognise that contribution in Wellington. Let us move to Mrs. King, because I want to congratulate her on her wonderful victory in Rongotai. Admittedly, she lost the party vote for the first time since 1996, but her electorate vote margin was impressive, and I want to congratulate her. So Labour bombed in the party vote, but she did well in the electorate vote. Mind you, Labour bombed by 900 votes in the party vote. It wasn't as much as the margin that Mr. Robertson lost the party vote in Wellington Central. It was the second time that the Labour Party, well, 894, don't quibble. It was the second time in a row that Labour's come third in the party vote in Wellington Central, and indeed comments are being made about his lamentable performance, and I think it's going to reflect in the great Labour leadership campaign. As Mrs. King will know, the Chatham Islands are now bluer than ever. I think they may even be possibly bluer than Epsom, and it's a testament to the work that the government is putting in over there. It's not numbers, it's quality. I had a very good time on the campaign with Mrs. King. She's an excellent campaigner. She's an impressive performer, and I can't understand why she isn't seeking the leadership of the Labour Party, because I do think she'd wipe the floor with the four current contenders. Indeed, my favourite meeting, I don't know what Mrs. King's favourite meeting was, my favourite meeting was in Island Bay. I was at all of them, where a man followed me down the street yelling that I was working for the CIA. Perhaps he'd had a tip-off from his sources about my new portfolios. It's just he got the wrong intelligence agency. But it was all jolly good fun, no dirty politics in Rongotai. I think all of us can, well, apart from the people who defaced my billboards, but it was all good, solid fun, and some of Mrs. King's were defaced as well, and I was really quite upset about that. I want to say something about the various portfolios for which I have responsibility, and of course my new portfolio responsibilities have necessitated my handing over the arts, culture and heritage portfolio. It's a fantastic portfolio, and as can be seen from Mrs. Barry in the House today, I think she's going to be a superb Minister of the Arts. She could possibly be even better than Alan Hyatt, who I think it's commonly accepted was our greatest Minister for the Arts. She knows that there's more to arts than self-promotion, unlike some other ministers of the arts. And I confidently predict that the golden age of the arts that I spoke about so often is about to morph into the platinum age. I'm pleased to be Associate Minister of Māori Development again, and I very much look forward to working with that great Minister, Te Ururoa Flavel, on a number of important matters, particularly reform of Te Turi Whenua Māori. I think this is one of the biggest pieces of economic reform for many, many years, and I'd be delighted to meet with the new Labour MPs to talk to them about the potential that this has. The MPI report published a couple of years ago said, get this right, and it is worth over $8 billion to the Māori economy over 10 years and could be worth 3,600 jobs. So it's worth putting in the effort. It's not about, as we heard during the campaign, doing something to destroy the jurisdiction of the Māori Land Court, but expanding the jurisdiction and making sure that we do the right thing there. And I very much look forward, as you could imagine, Mr. Speaker, on working on treaty settlements, Ngāpuhi, Hauraki, Tūwharetoa, Taranaki iwi, Wairoa, Ngāti Kahanunu ki Wairarapa. These are all major settlements, and I'm very much looking forward to getting stuck in there. I particularly want to say how delighted I am that Ron Mark is back in the House. I've been very involved with Ron over a number of years working on the Ngāti Kahanunu ki Wairarapa claim, and I know because he's back here he's had to hand it over, but he did a great job, and I confidently predict that he will soon be the leader of New Zealand First. I think we've seen a number of appalling contributions from Mr. Peters since the House has been back. He's no interest in being here any longer, and he's already counting down the days. And on the subject of leaders in waiting, I also want to welcome James Shaw to the House, a person I've known for some years and a person for whom I have a very high opinion, and I'm delighted that he's going to be making his maiden speech immediately after me. One of the more pleasant aspects of standing in Rongotai, quite apart from the fact that Mrs. King is such a jolly good sport, was when James Shaw turned up to debates instead of Russell Norman. There were two positives in that. Mr. Shaw is not an ideologue. He's a practical and a pleasant individual, more in line, I think, with the way the German Green Party has developed. The German Greens seem to me, at least, to be a principled environmental party, not a dogmatic left-wing rabble who talk down to people. I have to say I've lost count of the number of times I've seen iwi representatives in the gallery visibly laughing at the contribution of Green Party members on treaty bills. And when the Greens move on from their present anti-establishment phase, I know Mr. Shaw will be waiting in the wings to take them into government, and I wish him all the very best. Then all he's going to need to do is replace Catherine Delahunty, Jan Logie, Eugenie Sage and some of the other Green comedians in the Green caucus, and then I think it'll be a real party. Finally, I want to say something about the GCSB and the SIS. I am very privileged to hold those portfolios. In the few weeks I've had the responsibility for those jobs, I've come to respect those people and the very important work they do. They are the unsung guardians of our liberty, and we're going to have a debate on aspects of those organisations in the next few weeks, but I want to acknowledge the very dedicated and capable people whom I have met and who I know are committed to securing the freedom of New Zealanders. Obviously, they can't talk very much about what they do, but the work they do is very important, and I acknowledge it. And I certainly hope that in this Parliament at least, the intelligence questions that we as members of Parliament are going to have to face will not be dealt with in a partisan way. Debate is good, debate is necessary, but using the intelligence agencies, for example, to get at the Prime Minister is wholly unsatisfactory. And I hope it's very important for this country that if you like, the two big beasts of politics, the National Party and the Labour Party, work together to create a consensus in this area. And as Minister responsible for those agencies, let me say to the acting Deputy Leader of the House and to others on the opposition benches, I will be seeking to work with them so that we can rebuild that bipartisan consensus.